So, tell me, we've just started recording and we've just been talking about the provinces of Ireland because I had no idea that Northern Ireland comes within one of the provinces of the whole landmass of Ireland. And then, it's one of the questions I asked about it was about Ulster Bank. And then you said something, what did you say about the other bank?
The AIB, so in Ireland, this was the case. It might have changed now, but when I was there in England, it was so in Ireland it's called Allied Irish Bank, and then in England, at least it was called Anglo-Irish Bank.
But it's the same bank.
Same bank. It's the AIB, so it's the same bank.
And then when you told me that, I was amazed, and you dropped, another bombshell on me that I had no idea, as if it was common knowledge, and about it being similar to Magners and Bulmers cider.
Yeah, so in England, you guys have both. You have Magners and Bulmers. The Magners you get in Ireland it's called Magners everywhere except in Ireland, where it's called Bulmers. But the Bulmers in Ireland and the Magners in England are the same, and they're bottled in Ireland. But the Bulmers in England is bottled in England.
Right, because it's from Hereford originally, isn't it?
Yeah, but the Magners in England and the Bulmers in Ireland are from Clonmel and Tipperary.
That's really good. Why, do you know?
No.
Oh.
I was just, when you called, there was a random noise on my phone, and it's these videos that we get in our group chat, but I got a reply from one of the guys from our mutual friend who got married a few years ago, who I shan't name, but let's call him McLovin for legal reasons.
It's not for legal reasons.
But the message just says, it's obviously in reply to the video, the message just says, I liked the woman falling down the waterfall. So now seeing as I mentioned McLovin, one of the first times that I met you was getting very drunk.
Yes, it was. But yeah, it was the first time we met, I believe. It was for his birthday, for our friend's birthday, and you came up from your uni, because that's how you knew him, and I, he had a house party at his parents' house in England, and we had a night out, and I was I was all, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, but I was all like, oh, he's from Ireland, I'm gonna buy loads of Guinness and Baileys to try and impress him. Just the dumbest, fucking most ignorant thing. But anyway, I thought it'd be fun to drink with you, which it is and was, but keeping up with you, I was very naive in going into that, and very quickly became intoxicated beyond control. Was that fair?
That's pretty much accurate way of putting it. I can't even remember, we went to a few places that night, obviously, and I'm assuming we went to the nightclub.
Well, we did. We went to Gatecrashers in Birmingham, or tried to get in. And our friend wasn't allowed in anyway because he had ripped jeans on, and so they weren't going to let him in. And I tried to get in by another bouncer, a female bouncer. So at some point during the night, or during the evening leading up to that, my shoes had come away at the toes. So like the sole
I remember this now.
The toe end of my shoe had come away. And so when I walked, the movement of my toes would sort of make an opening at the front of my shoe. And the bouncer, she said, you're not coming in, look at your shoes. They're talking to me, because they were flapping open and closed. And then I thought, here's a great opportunity. I thought I was coming back with the skill of, a top comedian and the sort of suaveness of James Bond. And I just said, are they chatting you up? Obviously, they weren't going to let us in. And let's fast forward a little bit, partly because I don't know what happened after that, but we were in a taxi on the way home. I should say that I went to a university on the north side of Birmingham, and our friend's house that we were staying at was just south of Birmingham. Now, if you're not from the UK, Birmingham's the second largest city. This isn't a small place. So my university, where I had a student house, was about a half-hour drive from the house we were going to be staying in. Now, we were getting a taxi. I was going to stay at my friend's house and then get the train back the next day. So we were getting a taxi back to our friend's house south of Birmingham, and the urge to vomit overcame me. Let's put it like that.
That was a very eloquent way of putting it.
I was in the back seat, sitting directly behind the passenger seat in which our friend was sitting. And as I puked, I guess I leant forward over the shoulder of the seat and puked all over him. All I know is that he got out. The taxi immediately screeched to a halt and kicked us out, of course. And all I remember is he had, puke on him, which was disgusting. And I felt really ashamed and embarrassed by it, so I went and hid in a bush. I went and hid in a bush so that you guys couldn't find me. Because I was embarrassed. And eventually you didn't find me, and I sort of got into my head, we're still in Birmingham, I'm just going to walk back to my student house, like I've fucked up here, it's awful, I'm just going to walk back home and it'll be fine. You guys, I think you just went and got another taxi and went back, right?
No, we had to call I don't know if it was his brother or someone like that to come and pick us up.
Oh, okay, but you got a lift back anyway.
Yeah.
Right, and so I was on my own, and I was just, all I knew is I had to head north. As far as I was aware, I was still in Birmingham, and from the sort of centre of Birmingham to where I live was 7 miles, so I knew I was in for a long walk, but nothing, outrageous. It would have taken maybe 2.5 hours to get back. What I didn't know was that we were actually very, very close to getting to the final destination, and I was about 20 miles from my student house. So, and don't forget here, this is getting very patchy in front of my memory, and because I was on my own at this point, there might be some odd jumps in the story, but that's because that's the only memories I have of this thing. And so the next memory I have of heading towards the north, the northern direction. By the way, I didn't have a smartphone, so there was no Google Maps that could lead me back. I was just going off my knowledge of Birmingham and kind of looking at road signs and trying to find my way around. I ended up on a very wide road, and so I just thought, this is obviously the main road. It'll take me to Walsall, where I needed to go. And I was walking along, and a car pulled over, like in front, maybe, I don't know, maybe 50 metres ahead. And I kind of froze because it was, 2 a.m. It was kind of weird. I was really drunk, so I didn't know what to do. I kind of stopped, and someone got out of the driver's side of the car, and walked back towards me, and I was like, "Fuck, what's going on?" And he goes, "It's the police. Do you know you're walking on the M6?" I was like, "Oh shit, no." It's one of the most major motorways or highways that runs through the country, going past the second biggest city in the whole of the country. So, this is a pretty major road. It was 2 a.m, so there wasn't really any cars on there, but still, as in, I think, every at least European country, it's highly illegal to walk along the highway. I got into the back of this police car, and the guy said, we're actually traffic police. They weren't, I don't know what the difference is, but they were the ones, they patrol the motorways, they weren't...
Right.
And they just finished their shift, and apparently the control centre had seen me on some camera, and because these guys who just finished their shift happened to be driving that way, they said, "Can you pick this guy up and take him off the motorway?" And they said, if it hadn't been us and it had been someone who was on shift, I would have gone to the cells for the night, which would have been bad. So what happened was they picked me up. I said, "Where are you headed?" And they told me, and it wasn't exactly where I was going. It was the same direction, but all they said, "We're not allowed to take you anywhere as a free ride. We just have to get you off the motorway." So they took me to the next exit, which wasn't far, and they left me in West Bromwich, which isn't Walsall. That's not where I wanted to go. That's still miles and miles away from where I needed to be. Then flash forwards, I'm very, very tired. I don't know how long I've been walking, but my legs are tired, my feet are sore. My next memory is of me trying to withdraw cash from a cash point. I should say as well, my phone, not being a smartphone, I also couldn't ring for a taxi or anything because I had no battery left. My phone went dead. So I thought my only option left is to get some cash and hail a taxi on the side of the road, which I was trying to do. So I'm trying to get the cash out of this cash point, and it's not working. I'm just poking my card at the slot, trying to make it fit, and it won't go in. Not for the first time I've had that problem.
Especially after a few drinks.
So I sort of double take at this thing, and I realise that it's not a cash machine. I've gone into a phone booth.
I'd forgotten this.
And I'm trying to put my debit card into the coin slot of the phone.
Whoopsie, wrong hole.
It really was. So that didn't work. So I'm there standing in the middle of the night in West Bromwich with no money, no phone, with shoes that are barely fitting attached to my feet by now, and I'm so tired. That's where the sort of funny part of the story ends. The rest of it is just me walking back, but it's surprising how close to home I got before I knew where I was. I was walking for, I think, well, I don't know. We worked out that we left the club at about 1, and I didn't get in until 9. But I didn't realise where I was until 10 minutes away from my house, and I remember the feeling of relief when I realised where I was and knew where I was finally, because I was just kind of following road signs to Walsall. When I looked on Google Maps the next day to try and plot out the route I'd done, I realised that I'd walked through the most dangerous area of West Bromwich.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it was quite a thing. I didn't come into any contact with anyone that late in the night that even the dangerous people were in bed asleep. So
3 or 4 in the morning, all the guys with knives and machetes are just like, no, time to clock off, guys.
Yeah, they did. They saw me, but they thought,
yeah,
no.
They looked at you and was like, no, that guy's he's fucked enough.
So I got in, and literally the sun was coming up and the birds were singing as I was just walking in through my house. I was so tired. I was cold because I'd been out all night. It was kind of April time, so it wasn't the height of summer or anything. So I put all the heating on. I had 2, so I put the radiator on full, and I had 2 heating extractor fan things in my room. So I put them both on full, and then I just fell onto my bed fully clothed, which meant when I woke up at sort of 2 p.m. with a raging hangover, I was also soaking wet with sweat because my room was like a sauna. And it was like the worst way to wake up, Is there anything I missed out with that one?
I don't think so, to be honest. It was that night as well that I got kicked out of a club because I was in the bathroom and the guy beside me threw up in the urinal and the bouncer looked in and thought it was me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Alan! Our mate from Yorkshire was there, he was washing his hands, and he tried to argue with the bouncer as well, and he almost got kicked out, so he shut up. Mentioning Alan and
McLovin,
and so there was myself,
Alan McLovin,
and our mate
the Stiffmeister,
who we lived with. We went to stay with
Alan
grandparents in Bawtry, just outside of Doncaster. Just went up for a weekend of drinking, really. There was nothing spectacular going on. We were just like, yeah, why not? So we went up. There's 4 of us in a room. You can imagine what that's like in the morning. But we went out, we had a great night out, and of course the Friday night, I had a sore hip from playing rugby. So I was walking around, but I couldn't move too freely, so I was never going dancing. Not that I do anyway, but, after a few drinks I might. But we got into this place eventually, and I cannot remember the name of it. I want to say it's the Priory, but it probably isn't. But on a Friday night, they've stopped doing this for obvious reasons. It used to be £10 in and a free bar. So £10 in, all you can drink. And if you went to another place beforehand and you had a drink there, you'd get a band, a little yellow wristband for this place. And in that case, then it was £7 in, all you can drink at the bar. We got there, of course, with some very bad pictures of us online. Yeah, but we got there, and as I said, I couldn't really move around too much, so I sat at the bar for a little bit. And I was like to the guy behind the bar, I was drinking whiskey at the time. I'll have a whiskey, please, on the rocks. So he gave that. About 10 minutes later, whiskey on the rocks, please. Yeah, that. Every 10 or 15 minutes. And he eventually just left the bottle beside me.
Wow.
Because we weren't paying for it anyways.
Yeah.
And he's like, just make sure I get the bottle back because I'm not supposed to give it out. I'm like, no worries, mate.
So you just sat at the bar with your own bottle of whiskey?
Pretty much. And
McLovin,
the Stiffmeister,
and Alan! But they'd come over every now and then. They might have a little sip of whiskey and they'd go off dancing and running around like madmen as they do. But eventually, now again, I don't remember this. I think that's going to be a theme for a few of our stories. I went out dancing on the floor. And after a few minutes, all they remember is me chatting to a girl and then getting slapped. I have no recollection of getting slapped.
That's amazing.
At all. Yeah, so, apparently I got slapped. But of course, after 2/3 of a bottle of whiskey, nothing hurt. That was a good weekend. Good weekend. But it was the same night that we got back to our grandparents' house, and we got in, we're taking off our shoes, and we're all really quiet. And we're just whispering, we're being very, very quiet. And of course, Alan turns around and goes, "Everyone be quiet or you'll wake my grandparents."
It's always the way. That's great. Those guys are hilarious, man. You always have a good night with them. I remember
big time.
the time I came down to visit you all at your uni. I don't think you came out this night, but...
I didn't come out because I was kind of on a date. I had a girl over, in other words.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It was a university date, It was Netflix and chill before Netflix was around.
No, yeah. So I came down, and so me and your housemates went out, and a few other of your friends, and so it'd be a regular night out. But it was on the way back when you go for the McDonald's afterwards. When you go and get some food afterwards. It was a 24-hour drive-through, but the main restaurant wasn't open. If that makes sense, so you could only go through the drive-through.
Yeah.
And so we just walked up to one of the windows, and said, can I have a Big Mac or something? And they were like, no, we can only serve you, we can only serve, it's a drive-through, you have to be driving. We can only serve you if you're in a vehicle. And so one of our friends just thought, okay, that's fair enough, challenge accepted. He walked all the way back around the building, back to the front, went up to the, the sort of intercom where you ordered his food, and then went up to the window, pretending he was on a motorbike, so he had his two arms out in front of him, and he was like revving one of the handlebars. And we followed suit, so there was 5 of us, and he'd gone off doing the motorbike. So the other 4 remaining ones of us got in like a 2x2 formation, and the one on the front right was the driver of this car, and so we moved forwards as a 4 to the window, and the staff thought it was really funny, in fairness, and they ended up serving us because of that.
Oh, thank God. That's hilarious. And then you guys came back after that, and there was an issue at the door, wasn't there?
Oh God, I'd forgotten about this as well. I wasn't even going to mention this. Yeah, we came in, and so it actually worked out really well for me in the end, because I was the visiting person there. And how many people did you share a house with?
There was 4 of us in the house.
4 of you, okay. So there was 4 people in the house. I can't remember if you still had your visitor there or not, but there was more people than beds. And I was either supposed to be sharing a bed with someone or just crashing on the couch. Now we got back, and one of the guys went to shut the door. Now, to this day, we all swear that he did it completely normally, with no extra force or anything. Because of the state we were in, it's possible that it was, harder than he thought, but I really don't think so. He just went to push the front door shut, and his hand went through the glass of the front door. His arm just, as if it wasn't there, it just pushed through. And it was the strangest thing, because like I said, all of us saw him do it, and he didn't sort of stumble into it or slam it. The door didn't shut particularly, hard. His hand just went through the glass, and so he sliced open all of his arm. Had to go to hospital and get stitches.
And he hates needles.
Well, this is the thing. He was I think he was in pieces at the hospital, not because of the injury was hurting him or anything, but because he was terrified. Yeah, he had to get stitches.
I don't think, did he get stitches in the end, or did he not just get glued?
I think he just got. I think he just flat refused to. He was almost getting to the point where he would have fought them.
Yeah.
But it worked out well for me, because it meant there was all of a sudden, a nice big double bed completely available to myself for me, and so I took that. But the next day, when we woke up, I remember one of the guys hadn't eaten his. I don't know what it was, a quarter pounder with cheese or something. He still had that over. I felt awful. I was so hungover because I'm a skinny guy and you're all rugby players, so you're all big dudes and drink a lot. And I felt awful. And
the Stiffmeister.
He had his burger left and put it in the microwave, so it was to heat it up. But I mean, this is McDonald's. Yeah, it's a second wind McDonald's essentially. And reheated, it stank, it smelled horrible, and I almost puked on your sofa. saw that, and rather than being, he was the best guy, but rather than being a nice guy and giving me a bucket or something, he put his burger on a plate and just stood there with it under my nose. Until I retched and had to leg it to the toilet.
That house has seen some phenomenal drinking sessions. We used to play most Saturday nights. We used to have not everyone, like, obviously. We used to have quite a few people around. We'd play drinking games. We'd set up. We might start off the night, play the Take Me Out drinking game, whatever, TV program and stuff, and then we'd move on. And like, we could be there till midnight. We could be there till 4 a.m. But I remember one day we played Claustrophobia, and we told people, bring drinks, bring cans. It had to be cans. And of course, we still had 1 or 2 people bringing like bottles or gin or whatever. It's like, no, you idiots. But so we got there anyways. And Claustrophobia is what you're supposed to do, or what we read online, is you're supposed to stack the cans up on top of each other in front of the bathroom. So you can't use the bathroom until all the cans are drank. So we weren't able to do this in our house because we had 2 bathrooms. We had one upstairs, we had one downstairs. So what we decided to do was stack them in front of the front door. So nobody could get in or out until we'd all the cans drank.
Wow.
The cans didn't stand up because it was carpet in the hallway. They didn't stand up properly. So we had to lay them down flat and pile them up, like a wall or whatever.
Yeah.
The hallway was maybe about 2 to 2.5 foot. Well, about 2.5 foot, maybe 3 foot wide, and the cans laid across each other came up almost to my waist. It was a large amount of cans.
So they're laid on their side, and they
laid on their side. Yeah. There was like 12 of us drinking, and I think it was me and
McLovin.
We were the last 2 left at like 6 a.m. When I finished this, there's people just passed out in chairs, passed out on the floor, we're stepping over bodies. That was one of those just insane sessions.
That's amazing. Didn't you also brew your own beer in the house?
Yes, we did. We tried anyway, and I don't think we got the seal right on the beer, so it took longer than expected. But the first batch that we did and bottled was reasonably tasty. But then we didn't seal the rest of the bottles properly at all, so it went off quite quickly. But we decided to use that as punishment shots for anyone who came over and just needed a punishment. Yeah, it was quite horrible. It smelled like banana vinegar.
Well, didn't someone come over and had to do one of those shots, and he puked up a whole French fry, a whole McDonald's French fry?
Probably. I don't remember that, but probably. One of the only I've only ever puked twice from drinking. One of them was in that house. We played the rock and roll drinking game. If you don't know it, watch it. Just watch the first 15 minutes, because that's all we were able to get through without puking. There's rules to every drink, so like in Lord of the Rings, it's anytime someone mentions the ring or something, you take a drink and stuff like that. But in rock and roll, it's anytime anyone swears, anytime a name is said, anytime a bullet is shot, anytime you see sunglasses, anytime you see a London skyline.
That's just not fair.
The first 12 to 15 minutes of a Guy Ritchie movie is people getting shot, people introducing other people, the London skyline 6 times at least, and sunglasses everywhere. And it's just like, I went through 6 500ml cans of Heineken in less than 15 minutes.
Jesus.
It was just the gas and the sheer quantity in that short length of time. I wasn't drunk at all. I wasn't even feeling it. And I was just standing at the back door of my house, projectile vomiting. just standing there, just fed up. It's like, I paid for this beer. So in our 3rd year, myself
McLovin
and
the Stiffmeister
all lived in this house.
McLovin.
We had the downstairs front bedroom. Had a little bit of a bay window, which meant it had a little bit of a kind of roof over the window. And
the Stiffmeister
it was above him. So one night, myself and
the Stiffmeister,
as I said, we're out and we're very, very drunk.
The Stiffmeister
Earlier on in the night, had swapped his clothes for a full-body penguin suit. So, as you do.
Oh, what? I see. He went out there and traded. He took off all his clothes to wear this guy's penguin suit, and that guy took his clothes.
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened. And of course,
the Stiffmeister
left his wallet, his keys, everything in his jeans that this other guy was wearing. Because, in fairness, I don't think penguin suits have pockets.
Yeah, well, I mean, it would be realistic, would it?
Yeah, that's a philosophical question. Do penguin suits have pockets?
I meant just do penguins have pockets, but yeah.
And so, anyways, I got home before
The stiff meister.
and me in my drunken state, thinking it'd be hilarious, knowing that he didn't have keys, decided to lock the door so he couldn't get in.
Nice.
So he was banging on the window or banging on the door for a while. Didn't want to ring the doorbell to wait in case he woke.
McLovin.
Didn't want to knock on his window. And all this time I had fallen asleep on the couch playing the Xbox. So
The stiff meister.
ended up deciding to climb in to his window on the second story or first story, depending on where in the world you're listening to this.
Up one flight of stairs, essentially.
I was just about to say upstairs. So what he did, he climbed onto the roof of the bay window, and the only window open was a little one, like, you know, just a very small one on top of a regular window. Like, no way in hell I could squeeze through it.
Right.
The stiff meister.
He was a lot skinnier than I was at the time, so he kind of obviously thought he could. And yeah, he eventually, he got halfway in the window, slipped, fell backwards, fell onto the wall that was just outside of our house and into the neighbour's car. All of this while wearing the full body penguin suit.
Into their car?
Into their car. Did no damage to the car.
What?
At all. Like, luckily the car was there, because he could have landed on the road otherwise.
He landed on the bonnet, or what did he land on?
No, I assume, because he hit the wall first, so I think he just went into the side of it or something.
Jesus.
And all it did was break his fall, I guess.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so of course,
McLovin.
heard all of this. He had to help
The stiff meister.
inside. Threw an Xbox controller at me, which is fair
That
enough.
is fair enough.
And as I said, all of this while wearing a full body penguin suit, so I'd have loved to have seen that. Proving once and for all that penguins can't fly.
Whee.
And yeah, the next morning, I guess,
The stiff meister.
had forgotten about this, so we heard him get up off his bed, and he swung his feet over the bed, went to walk on his foot, and all you hear is, "Ah!"
Oh,
And it turns out he had broken his tibia.
no, really?
Yeah.
He broke his shin.
Yeah. He broke like an inch up from the bottom of his tibia.
Oh my god.
There was a straight crack. So
Jesus.
obviously went up to hospital, and in fairness, I felt a little bit guilty, so I waited with
Did
Jamie
you really?
while he got while he got the X-ray done and all of that. So that was that's how
The stiff meister.
he broke his leg, and of course I told that story at his wake over in Greece, and his sister just stood up in the middle of the church and just goes, "You're the bastard who broke my brother's leg," laughing obviously, but just in a church to hear that is quite funny.
That's very good. Very, very good. I've got one for you. Do you want to hear the funniest drinking story I've ever heard? So it doesn't involve me, but
Yes.
it's the funniest one I've ever heard.
Yes.
So this is a friend of mine from my first university. He went out with some friends, I think in his hometown, and he was staying at someone's house, crashing on the couch. Or he was on a fold-out couch or a bed, so the thing folded out, but it was an old one. And when they've got when you've got any sort of old furniture with a metal frame, the mattress or the padding wears down, and all you can feel is that metal frame underneath it. It was like that, and because it was a bed, it had sort of cross supports that would run underneath your body, as well as making the sort of rectangular shape of the bed. And so he could feel one of these metal bars was sort of under where his hamstrings are, the back of his legs at the top. Didn't think anything of it because he was going to be drunk when he goes to bed, obviously, so it wouldn't matter. When you're pissed, you can sleep anywhere, right? I mean, we've learnt that with South America, with all those hostels we slept in. But he went out and got blackout drunk, came back and fell asleep on this futon or this fold-out bed. Because of the state he was in, I think it was one of those sleeps where you just don't move, So he's sort of frozen in that position with this metal bar pressing into the backs of his hamstrings. Anyway, fast forward to when he wakes up. He wakes up and he's got the bed covers on him. He just sort of takes a minute just to let the cobwebs clear from his head and stuff, and he realises that he can't feel his legs. And he also realises that he doesn't know what happened last night because he blacked out. And rather than... this always makes me laugh. Rather than, doing the sensible thing and either, just moving your hands to see if your legs are okay, or just taking the sheets off your body, to see if your legs... Or just looking down and seeing if there's a lump where your feet probably are. He decided, no, I'm not going to do that. In his hungover state, he started crying. Because he thought that he'd gone out and gotten so drunk and somehow lost his legs and couldn't remember how it happened. And he just cried for a good few minutes, thinking that he was, I know this is not funny to be disabled, but he thought that he'd, lost his legs, and that was to him then, that he'd need a wheelchair for the rest of his life. And all that had happened is this metal bar that had been digging into the back of his legs had cut off his blood supply, and they'd gone numb.
Jesus Christ.
I love that story. What's have you got one that you can think of off the top of your head?
I
That's
just
your
trying to think,
one?
there's good snippets, obviously. There's one where we went streaking around campus. It was one guy's birthday, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's my birthday. I'm going to do a striptease on the stage in the bar." So, and then of course that gathered momentum with the rugby guys, and it's like there ended up being quite a few of us. Yeah, of course we'll join you. And the stage was too small, so in the end we decided to go running around campus, balls out naked.
Nice.
And we were jogging along, and
The Stiffmeister.
again was involved, and he comes kind of bounding, skipping up beside me. So I just timed it perfectly. I said it to one of the guys, I just go, "Watch this." So timed it perfectly, and he comes up bounding. In the air, I just throw my hand over, push him, and while he's in the air, just goes straight, face first, into a big bush. And that, I think, is where our university sport of bush jumping was invented. It had happened constantly then, after nights out in the pub, if we were all walking back. There'd be so many bushes around campus, and we'd just go jumping in them. And there was one there was a big hill, there was a fence at the top of it, so we'd jump over the fence, into the bushes, and roll down the hill. Sounds pointless and ridiculous, but when you're drunk, it's midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and it's a group of guys. It's the most fun ever.
Yeah, I did something similar at my university. We went out in my first year, and had a lot to drink, and I went back by myself. I can't remember why,
Because you're a loner.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that. I can't remember why I went back, but anyway, I went back before everyone else. So to get back to the campus where the student accommodation was, you have to walk down a main road of residential street. So it's a road with gardens lining the street and houses at the end of the gardens. And rather than just walking along the path or along the road, I figured it would be quicker to go across all the gardens, and which it's not. It's exactly the same, and that's not the thing. The thing was, these aren't just open plan gardens. They're all fenced off. They're all got bushes between them, and I still thought, no, this is the way to go. And so
I'm just picturing the scene in Hot Fuzz,
yeah.
where Simon Pegg does all the good jumps, properly gets over, flips over all the fences, and Nick Frost comes along, tries to, and just falls through the fence.
I was very much like the Nick Frost in that analogy. There were a couple of little bushes, ones I just sort of hopped over easily, and then there was one. There was one that was it was a bush that was kind of like. I don't know, say up to my waist kind of height, so maybe 3, I'm not 4 feet, I was going to say 3 feet high or so. And so I thought I'll take a running jump at this, and it was a bush, so even if my feet clip it, it won't matter, they'll just go through. So I took a running jump at it. What I didn't know is that this bush was grown around a brick wall. And as I planned, thinking, it doesn't matter if my feet catch the top of this bush, when my feet did catch the top of the bush, I wasn't worried. When they caught the top of the wall, which pitched me face first into the soily flower bed beneath, I thought, yeah, that was a mistake. And with a very soily face, and I actually ruined my favourite t-shirt that night, I just gave up and walked to the road like a normal person. and realised that I'd actually only gone down like 2 gardens. If I just walked along the road, I would have been back. It had taken me ages to navigate the first bushes, and the second one I stacked it. Have you got anything else to share?
There was the night, again, going back to the university, there's a night in the house where myself and
McLovin.
invented the best drinking game ever. And we woke up the next day and we were like, oh my God, that game was phenomenal. Yeah, it's like, did we write down the rules? No, I don't think so, but I remember... Oh, wait, no, I don't remember how to play it at all. It was that good, we forgot how to play.
And you still don't, neither of you know, even now?
McLovin.
Thinks there was dice involved.
Wow.
But we're not sure.
This is the real thing.
Yeah. Then there's the we've had a couple of Super Bowl parties over in Ireland, which have been great. Of course, they go to like 4 a.m. But there was one where another guy came over, a guy called and it was. So of course it's just a weekend of drinking. You know, most of the guys land before lunchtime on Friday, and they're not coming back till the earliest Monday morning. So it's just 2.5 days of solid drinking.
Yeah.
And on this, and of course it's Six Nations time as well in the rugby. So we always play the rugby drinking game. So you get a player from each team for the rugby drinking game. And anytime they're mentioned, you know, you take a sip and so on. There's more rules. But had Conor Murray for Ireland, who's the scrum half. And of course, we're watching it in Ireland with the Irish commentary. So Conor Murray is mentioned, I don't know how many times. He went through, I think, about 6 pints in one game. Wow. And where we had like 3 or 4, you know.
Yeah.
And this was on the Sunday afternoon. So it was after the whole weekend of drinking. And we got to another place on the Sunday evening. We're watching the end of one of the soccer games. And my boss at the time was there. Was in the pub. Now, he didn't care. Like, he was drinking as well. But just fell asleep up against the cigarette machine. Like, he didn't go for cigarettes or anything. It was just under the TV. That's where we were sitting. And he was on a stool beside the cigarette machine and just fell asleep beside it. And one of the guys behind the bar, he goes to me, he's like, Dave, is he all right? And I go, yeah, he's just tired. And he goes, okay. Like, that happens over here or in the States or in a lot of places in England. You get kicked out.
Yeah, straight away.
But in Ireland, if you're with someone who kind of, you know, knows the barman and knows the crack around the place, it's like, is he okay? Like, yeah, we've just been drinking since Friday. It's like, all right, fair enough. Is he going to throw up? No, he'll be fine in 20 minutes when he wakes up. So guys, that was us telling a few drunk stories. I hope you enjoyed them. You know, it's I did. Anyways, I don't know about you, James, but I definitely enjoyed telling them. So guys, we're still on YouTube right now, but because we know on YouTube, if you're listening on your phone, you have to keep the app open and stuff like that. We can send a drone or whatever it is to Mars, but we can't close YouTube while listening to it. So we will eventually be on a podcast. We'll have a change of name, and we'll have artwork and a theme tune, guys. We're going to be a proper podcast. So once that happens, you know, we appreciate so much the support that we're getting so far. We really do. Big shout out to Chris as well, one of our big supporters, constantly commenting and liking our videos, which is great. So we need you guys to, you know, keep sharing, keep liking, retweeting, commenting, all the repost, whatever, all the social media stuff to just try and grow us a little bit. So myself and James, we're both on Facebook. We're both on Twitter. I'm at OCR Cove. James is at TweetBelsey. I'm on Instagram. OCR Cove is my handle. I'm on Snapchat. Crazy Axel is my name on that. And other than that, you can email the show if you'd like. Our email is hammocks-are-life@gmail.com because hammocks are life. I'm waiting for my second one to arrive in the mail. My first one has arrived, and it's getting to the weather where I can put it up.
You explain it every time because hammocks are life.
They are. And I think off the top of my head that, you know, we're hoping to probably by the middle, maybe the end of June, that we're on a podcast format. So, you know, 6 weeks. We'll say the start of July, that we're on podcast format, and then we'll be re-releasing all the episodes, you know, 2 or 3 a week, guys. And from there, we're hoping to make a name for ourselves in a sense. If we can at some stage reach, if 2 years from now we reach triple figures in our listening audience, that'd be phenomenal. So unless James has anything else to add to that.
No, I think you've covered everything. That's good.
Beautiful. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you next time.